Hello everyone, welcome to Distilling Canada. Now, today you're not going to see anything on distilling, but we are going to talk about a spirit. And we'll talk about this behind me. But today's question, or today's video more like it, is I need to ask you folks a question. I need a little bit of help, and we'll get into that right now. Alright, so first off, let's talk about what I'm drinking here. As a lot of you know, I do enjoy bourbon and I enjoy most whiskeys, but I am a Scotch drinker. Now, I am a Highland Scotch drinker, so I like this sherry finish and the sweetness and the vanillins and all that are found within a Highland. And Macallan, of course, is probably my favorite. Although I do have a few others. Auchentoshan is really another nice one. But I do vary. Monkey Shoulders happens to be a relatively cheap favorite right now as well in the whiskeys. But I thought I'd try something different. I've never really spent much time with a good Islay. Now, whether or not you consider this a good one, I'm not sure. But I got a special release Ardbeg in a metal canister. And once again, when you're a Highland drinker, coming into one of these is a bit of a shock. It's definitely a learning curve. And I find with this, the smell is definitely a medicinal iodine. You do get the salt water and definitely a heavy peat. Really heavy peat. What I find really neat though, and I never discovered this when I first tried an Islay. First time I tried an Islay, I would never touch it again. But now that my palate has grown, I'm finding that when you first try an Islay or first try something like this, you get that initial sweetness, you get that coating over your tongue, and there's a lot more flavors there, and then it transfers, and you pick up the iodine, you pick up the peat, and the finish is somewhat different. But the neat thing is, the finish actually prepares you for your next sip, in which you'll get more of the whiskey and less of the peat until it wants to get in the end. But the beginning of it becomes a different note for you. So in almost every sip, I'm discovering new things within this. So I find this, although still not my favorite, I am definitely a Highland person and a bourbon. I'm finding this exceptionally interesting, and I'm discovering more every time I have some. But that's not what we're here for. And we're not here for what's behind me. So let me just set these down. Because we don't need to get into that right now. And we'll just run over this quick. I'm going to try not to do this to you. It is happening this one time, but what I want to do is I'm going to continue on with the videos. Although it's been a little rough right now, I'm doing a lot of other projects as well as distillery. We're going to touch on that in a second. But I'm also trying to get this 1951 GMC truck done. Now, my distillery, all the pieces for it, the still, the fermenters, and everything else, and a few other surprises which you're going to see, that all arrives on June 15th. At least that's the date I have right now. We're trying to get distillery cleaned up. We painted the floor. We're getting a lot of other things done there. And as soon as the architect finishes this week, we'll get the walls. We'll start building the walls out, and I'll show you all that. I'm going to show you everything. Except for the paperwork. And the other thing I can show you on the paperwork is I'm getting a bigger bald spot from it. Ripping my hair out with dealing with the government and a few other things. But I won't go there. That's painful. And if someone wants a little more information down the road, I'll help you out. No problem there. But as you can see, the fenders are off, and my son's been helping me a lot with this. So we've got the fenders off, and you can see, you know, this one's already been through the bigger tank. We now have a bigger electrolysis tank just to do the large panels. This one was done in 2 shots. It did one end, flipped it, did the other. It's been stripped off, and you see I've got some big holes. So now I got to cut these out, and I got to weld in new patches and make a new piece frame here. Meanwhile, the other side of the bed is sitting in there, and it's just about ready to be flipped, and it'll be stripped tomorrow. I had the English wheel here. I brought that down from the hangar, and I'll be making these parts because I need to put a curve in here, and I had to shrink or stretcher to do the work into here, and you're not going to see that. You know, I'm going to try and limit this stuff until after the closing credit. So if you want to watch the truck build a little more after you see a stilling video, just stay tuned after the credits, you'll see that. But today, and what I want to talk about today is our distillery. I've run into a problem, and it's only because I don't have a familiarity with fluid cooling. So we have the boiler on order, the stills on order. So our still setup, and you'll see a picture here. The still setup is two 1,000 liter pots, and they're connected together. And that goes to our first tower, which is a 4-plate whiskey tower with the flag on the top. Now it's a 12-inch column, and you'll see all that in the picture you saw. It'll have all the measurements on there as well. And I'll try and include the picture link below so you can actually look at what we're doing. But from that whiskey column, it goes into two other columns. Both are 10-plate columns, and both have the flags. And then it goes, there's a gin set up there, gin basket, and then it goes to the condenser. So that is the still setup. And once again, the picture is below, hopefully. We'll see how well I do with editing that one. I have 6 fermenters coming as well. Each one of those fermenter is 1,000 liter, and they're jacketed. So that's another cooling draw. I want to be able to maintain a 68 to 72 degree within that. And then I have 1,000 liter mash tun coming. And I do have cooling jackets on that as well, so that I can drop cool it after I've done, and can step down the stages. So I can go from, you know, a boiling on a corn, bring it down to around 140, hold it there for a while, and then crash it down to below 90 so that I can transfer it over to fermenters. I could do that in a transfer condenser, but I'd rather just do it all in the one mash tun. So my deflags, so I have 3 deflaginators, and the deflaginators are 0.8 meters squared. That is the volume of them, and the condenser is 2.5 meters squared. So with that information, what I need help with, guys, is I need to know what size of a chiller unit I should be looking at. I've done a lot of research, and I'm trying to find all the information I can on the computer, and I've talked to quite a few different people, and I've got anywhere, and here's where it's driving me crazy. I've got anywhere from, I need a 1-ton chiller, and I can use a 10-gallon tank. And I'm looking at them, just the logic of that is just so far out there, there's no way. Maybe for a beer line, but it's not going to work on a still. So another fellow is saying that I've got a system that can generate 500,000 BTUs, and I need a 50-ton compressor, cooler, chiller. And that's just out of the ballpark for me anyways. So I've talked to a few other locals, and I know all the distillery guys in this area, and you know, some are using a 3-ton for the smaller system. One fellow that has a similar size system to mine, not quite as big, he's using a 3-ton with 1,000 liter reservoir, and he's stepping up at a 5-ton. So I don't know which way I should go. Should I be doing step reservoirs, use a bunch of these totes here, and do 3 of these totes and do a step chill in between, or is there a chiller that suits my needs? I'm having a problem. All your comments and even private messages, if you want, they're all desired. Any help you folks can get, if you have knowledge in this area, please send it along. Drop the link below, and just leave a comment, and I really appreciate any help you guys can give. So I am really tied up in the truck. The truck has to be done before June 15th. which is not a whole lot of time when you look at this is the end of February and this is only the back of the truck. But I'm not putting the truck in a concourse condition. I am doing a frame off restoration, but the frame is just going to be needle blasted, then I'll come back sandblasted, and then just do an undercoat paint job. And same with these, the fenders, I'll weld in new pieces. I could replace the fenders, they're not that expensive, but I do want to spend a little more time with my TIG welder, and I know I can TIG weld these, and I have a new TIG welder sitting over here. As you saw when I was doing the still, my old TIG welder, I found out that was my huge issue. Once again, I'm still learning, so we have the new Square Wave Lincoln, and I've used this before, and I've gotten beautiful welds out of that, so I'm going to get used to that again. So I'm going to start doing these patches, get these done. The inside, I've already wire brushed all this out, and it's all clean, all the rust is out of it. And I'm going to spray in a rust converter, and then I'm going to undercoat it underneath. So that's the inside. Whereas if I was doing a concourse, I would have to clean all this up inside and paint it the same color as the truck. So I'm not going that far. I do want the outside to be beautiful. The inside, I want to be functional. This is the distillery's truck, and that's why we're trying to get this done. It is part of the distillery, and it is going to be fully functional, except for between October and March. It's going to be off the road for those periods of time. But other than that, it's going to be on the road. It's going to be going to shows, and it's going to be part of our display. And you know, we're going to be putting barrels in the back of it and everything else. So this is part and parcel to building the distillery. It's building the truck as well. So as I'm learning to weld, I have a new system I've designed through a lot of research for a charcoal filtering, and it's going to be installed in the distillery. But it's all stainless steel, and it's going to be a serpentine setup, and it's going to be able, so I can lift the totes up and gravity drain through these 2-inch columns, and it'll go in a serpentine manner down to the bottom tote. This way, after doing a distilled run, and we're going to clean up the spirit, especially in a vodka, we can raise the tote right up, leave it for the night, and just let it drain down over a period of 1 or 2 days, depending on how long it takes. That's coming up in the future, as well as a few other things. You've already seen some runs for them going with the yeast flavoring, changing different yeast, try different flavors, as well as there's the one there for the, what is that stuff called? For the very quick, turbo yeast, that was it. So more of that is to come. I haven't had a chance to get onto the computer and start doing some of that work. So you'll see that in a bit of time. So I think that's it for now, guys. Just a quick update. Just got back from vacation. We're dived heavy into this, and I do have that problem with my chiller, one I need to buy. So any help you can give, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming along in this journey with me, and stay tuned. There's a lot of very exciting things to come. Bit of a hiatus now while we're doing some of this, but it'll get a lot more interesting very soon as we do our build out. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Yep, that's what most people think of their first.